And I want to talk about one more issue. We're going to, of course, take a few questions from the reporters, but I want to talk about one more issue. Because the American media, and especially Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, they don't want to talk about how this illegal immigration crisis is a theft of the American dream from American citizens. And we see this in small communities. We see this in big cities all over our country. When you let in 25 million people, you know what that does? That stresses municipal budgets. So a lot of cities and towns can't afford to provide for their own citizens because they're focused on providing for people who shouldn't be here. You know, hospital wait times, because illegal aliens use hospital emergency rooms primarily. So hospital wait times have gone up in the state of Michigan. They're close to 3 hours for American citizens who want to go into the hospital and see a doctor. We've got so many problems. Housing. You know, when you let in 25 million illegal aliens and they compete with Americans for scarce homes, that drives up the cost of housing, and that is a major cost of the housing crisis. I had the debate moderator attempt to fact check me last night. She said, "What's your evidence that illegal immigration promotes and increases housing cost increase?" And I said, well, first of all, common sense. When you let in millions of people who shouldn't be here, you got to house them somewhere, and those are houses that ought by right go to American citizens. Donald Trump and I are going to fight for that every single day. American homes for American people. But there's also, to talk about Tim Walz's economist that he loves to cite, our own Federal Reserve has commissioned a study that shows that when you let in a lot of illegal aliens, it jacks up the price of housing. So how about this simple principle? Kamala Harris wants to give amnesty to millions of illegal aliens. She does. She wants to bankrupt Medicare by giving Medicare to illegal aliens. Do we want that? She wants to bankrupt Social Security by giving Social Security to illegal aliens. Do we want that? Here's the Donald Trump plan, and here's the Donald Trump message to illegal aliens in this country. In 6 months, pack your bags because you're going home. That's what we're going to do. And you know, you heard this a little bit last night. You hear a lot of talk about compassion when the issue of illegal immigration comes up. Well, let's talk about compassion. Because I'm the father of 3 beautiful young kids. I don't think that it's compassionate to empower the Mexican drug cartels to engage in sex trafficking along our southern border. That's not compassionate. I don't believe that it's compassionate to flood American cities and towns with fentanyl that is killing our citizens by the tens of thousands. I don't believe that it is compassionate to allow our southern border to become a drug trafficking and business zone for some of the most evil and terrible people in the world. You know what's compassionate? Closing that border down and putting the interests of American citizens first, and that is what we're going to do. You know, because these guys, they love to talk about threats to democracy. Well, as Donald Trump will often remind you, he took a bullet for democracy. So I don't think that any person can accuse the guy of doing anything other than fighting every single day to make this country more prosperous and to make the world more peaceful. But when the media talks about threats to democracy, you know what a threat to democracy is? When you have Kamala Harris running for president despite not earning a single vote from Democratic primary voters. That's a threat to democracy. You know what else is a threat to democracy? When big tech firms and major American companies and big government censors American citizens and deprives them of their voice in the town square. That's a way bigger threat to democracy than anything else going on, and we're going to stop it right away. Because look, I genuinely think this is one very big difference between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Look, I disagree, of course, with Kamala Harris. I disagree with Governor Walz. I disagree with a lot of the folks who support him, but I would die fighting to defend their right to speak their mind, even if I disagree with it. And I think every single person in this room believes that because we believe in free speech. And as a person who was raised by a couple of working-class, blue-collar Democrats, I want to say to every Democrat who's watching at home every Democrat who's in this room, you are more than welcome in Donald Trump's Republican Party. We're the party of common sense. We got a big tent, and you're welcome in our movement. Because whether you agree or disagree with us about tax policy or regulatory policy, I think a lot of Americans are saying they're sick of the censorship. They're sick of being told what to think and what to say. They're sick of being told that they're not allowed to be friends with people they disagree with politically, and they're tired of being told by their government to shut up. Because we believe in the First Amendment in this country, you have every right to petition your government and tell them they're screwing up, and that's exactly what Kamala Harris is doing. And that's why Bobby Kennedy endorsed Donald Trump. That's why Tulsi Gabbard endorsed Donald Trump, because we believe in persuading our fellow Americans and not silencing them. And that is a big difference between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. You hear these people talk, and Governor Walz mentioned this yesterday. He talked about you can't shout fire in a crowded theater. And you know what that from? That line is from a disgraced Supreme Court opinion. We believe that the solution to bad ideas is to debate them and persuade our fellow Americans. Kamala Harris believes the solution to things she disagrees with is to silence you and to shut you up. It's disgraceful, it's anti-American, and we will not stand for it in Donald Trump's political movement. So I want to close before I take some questions from the media, and I just want to remind you that we got to look through Kamala Harris's lies. She talks about all these great plans that she has. And look, some of them she's straight up copied from Donald Trump. So some of them I'm like, Kamala Harris, that doesn't sound that bad. You went on DonaldJTrump.com and copied and pasted it. She's going to put on a red MAGA hat, next thing you know. But look, if you've got all these great ideas, Kamala Harris, I've got a message. Why don't you try them right now? Because you're the sitting vice president and you haven't done a damn thing for American workers or the American people. The sitting vice president cannot say on day one, we're going to tackle the affordability crisis. Day one was 1,400 days ago, and your policies caused the affordability crisis. She can't say on day one, we're going to make the borders more secure, because she's been the border czar for years, telling Americans that the border is secure. She ought to do something about it now instead of lying and gaslighting the American people. She talks about restoring American leadership to the world and bringing back peace and stability to the world that has turned to chaos. And when she says that, I say, Kamala, I've got a really good idea for how we can bring peace and stability back to the world. Vote for Donald J. Trump and bring him back to the Oval